Hi guys. So close. Okay, so here we go. We're live here and we're live here. So I just want to and just to, I think, understand in general. I think that people do, though. Hello, everybody. Let's see if people are finding me. I guess the more we go on, the more they'll find us. And hello, folks. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. How's everybody doing? Hi, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Welcome in, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm going to let everybody find us. And hi. Hi. Welcome in. Hi, Dana. Hi, welcome in. Hi, Jose. We've got Anne coming through. So I just want to say hi to everybody. I'd like to give everybody a chance to find us, and we'll get started on our day today. I hope everybody's well. It's been a busy day. It's been a good day. And usually I'm not here on Wednesdays, so it's nice to be with everybody. So welcome in. Hello, Belle Pottery. Hi, Lou. Welcome in. It's great to see everybody. Hello, welcome in. We're building a great room already. Oh, you know what? I'm not leaving. I just noticed that my battery is low on my phone. So I'll be right back. You're going to see an empty chair for a second. But I'm coming back. Oh, wrong one. This is the right one. Hi, everybody. I'm still here. I'm still here. Hi. Hi, Nancy. I just realized I need to get this going here so that we don't run out of juice halfway through our hour. It's been that kind of a day. So let me get us good. So now we're charged. Now I won't conk out on you guys. Hi, welcome in, everybody. We're building a very good room here. We're starting to build a great room. So I will get started with everybody today. And here we go. So it's Wednesday, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. For those who are my regulars or know what the room is about, welcome to a Wednesday session. For those who are coming through that aren't sure about exactly what they've joined, I'm Jamie. I am a national speaker and a coach on all things grief and loss and times of adversity and the things that we go through in our lives, where though I think we find help in places that we should and we all deserve to, there's not a lot of places for us to go to just have conversations and just talk about, hi, Brandy, welcome in. I think that it is difficult for us in our society to find a place to go and just be able to talk. And That's why I created this room, which is building and building so well. Hi, Irma. Welcome in. Hello, Fonda. It's great to see everybody. It's great to see everybody. Welcome in to our Wednesday session. And so again, for those who are new, and I'd love to see a yellow heart, or just let me know where you're coming from if you're new to the room. I am someone who obviously coaches it, and I speak on the topic. And the main reason that I've really pivoted to this part of my life is because I too have had a lot of loss in my life. And I think that it's time to open the conversation to other people and be able to just talk and feel like there's a place to go when we're just having one of those days, because it lives with us every day, loss and who we are and how much life changes. And it's pretty stunning, really. I think that's a little bit, obviously, of what I'm going to talk about today. Just so people understand the format, I always bring a topic because I think it's easier when we start talking, and then people can feel like they can start to also give their thoughts and comments. I just don't want to come on here and be like, tell me your story, because it kind of puts people on the spot. So it sort of helps warm it up, and the topic is always informative, but I love having conversations. And if people want to tell their story or talk, please do. This is not a lecture where no one can say anything. And speaking of which, we have our first comment today saying I'm pretty new. You have me coming back for more with your wisdom, San Diego. Good. I'm very glad. I'm very glad that you're coming back. And welcome. You're semi-new. I recognize you. I recognize your name, and I'm thrilled to have you back. So, what I want to talk a little bit about today is a subject that we've covered in different areas in the past, but I think that I want to talk a little bit today. Angelica, welcome in. And I would love for people to comment and tell me their experiences. I want to talk about how quiet the recovery process is and the learning process is, because I think it's something that can be difficult to navigate in a world that's always been noisy, but with social media and with where we are. Irma, welcome in. I know you're from Texas, and it's great to see you. And I'm sorry that you've been sad lately, so I am very, very glad that you are here. Angelica is here to say hi. We have somebody else that says, yes, I'm going to call you, or just going to call you Green Beauty, is semi-new too. And it's been 4 weeks since your IVF miracle was born sleeping. And I'm thrilled to have you back here. I think it's a very important time for you to have really good support and a place to go. So I'm thrilled that you're here. I'd love to know, it sounds ridiculous, but I'm not saying how are you doing like I just saw you at a party and I'm curious how you're doing. I would like to, if you feel like it, just to give us a couple of comments of how you're feeling or how you're doing, if you want to. Again, it's up to everyone here. But you're the perfect person to have in this room. Everybody really is, but with what you're going through. And I think the one thing that was so difficult for me, and really remains to be in my own losses, was that there is so much about this very loud, very life-changing situation and loss and moments that we have. It's strange that the recovery is so quiet, and that what we do, and most of what we do in recovering, is not even, most people don't even see it. We have to be proud of all of this work and all of this healing that we do. And really it's the unsung hero award. Like, not a lot of people know about it. So I want to dive into today how we do that and how we can keep ourselves positive with the milestones that we pass and how well we're really doing, even though we really only have ourselves to gauge it by, right? Even the people that know us the best, right? Even the people in our lives that love us during these times still don't see everything that we go through because it's such an internal, quiet battle and healing time, right? Okay, good. So found us with this again and said, I'm seeking to learn about myself and how I can navigate my grief. Fantastic. And Irma's coming in with true. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And I love how you started that though, because what you want to learn about is yourself. And that's the most important relationship that we're going to talk about right now in grief. There is so much, but I want to really focus. So thank you for saying that first, because it really pinpoints what we need to do. Someone else is here today, new here. Welcome in. I lost my 21-year-old cousin to suicide a week ago, and my family does not know how to handle this. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being in here today. And I think that I want to just take a moment to talk about our stories and how we lose people and the things that can happen to us. We already have someone in here that was talking about so courageously about her IVF miracle, born sleeping, and someone in here now who's talking about suicide. And I think that no matter, all of our stories are difficult, and all of our stories of how we lost someone makes a mark on our lives for the rest of our lives. And I always talk about comparison, and I always talk about that it's very bad for us in our lost stories. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, because we want our stories to remain important and powerful to us. Hi, Elias. And what we can do, and what I mean by this is that I don't want anyone in here to say, the comparison that I mean is I don't want people to hear someone's story and then be in here and say, oh, well, I didn't lose that much, so maybe I shouldn't be here. You should be here. And no matter what your loss is, it's significant. So that's what I mean by comparison. But I do want to take a moment to talk about how things happen. It's rare that we get the story of someone in our lives, our grandmother, who we loved so much, lived to be 95 and fell asleep one night and never woke back up. I mean, if you have to talk about loss, what a great story. What a great way to go. Most of us don't get that. And so I want to talk a little bit about one of the first steps that we all need to take is coming with sort of the reckoning of how it happened and making sure that we're being fair to ourselves. I will go first. When I was 13, my childhood best friend was killed on a horse. And I was supposed to be there that day, but I had to go home. My mother made me go home. And so for a very long time, I wondered, would it have been different if I would have been there? What if I would have done this? And what if I would have done that? And maybe things would be different. And only 9 years later, I was supposed to be up at my house, my family's house, but I went somewhere else instead. And that was the weekend that my mother died of a heart attack, incredibly suddenly, very suddenly. And I spent a long time thinking I should have been there or things would be different. And so I want to start with the first part of understanding and making sure that we learn about ourselves and that we start to go in a direction that's going to be healthy, is to understand that no matter what happened in your life, you are not to blame for what happened. Because we have some very unique stories in here today. We have a mother that carried to term but did not get the result, and someone in here who has a cousin who took their own life. And for a little while, like I did when I was 13 and when I was 22 again, I had to run that record over and over and over and over and over again about how I wanted to change it and how I wanted it to be different. and creating scenarios that if I had done something different, things would be different. These are torturous, and these are very repetitive, and they can be very debilitating to us, but they are in fact normal. And so I think that the first thing to understand is just wear yourself out on that. I don't want you to stay there too long, but it's okay if you're running through your head, because I want to go back to the what ifs are horrible. I question everything I did, I ate, and I constantly replay it. This is why this is my hand reaching out to you, Green Beauty. This is my hand reaching out to Wanda. And I want to reach out to you, okay? And I wish I could grab your hands, because this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to wonder, if someone took their life, well, why didn't I do more? How did I not know? What if I would have? And what if I? And what you're doing, the reason it's normal, okay? And I'm not saying that any of this is fun, and I don't minimize it by saying it's normal. What we're doing is we're trying to figure out where to put the love, and where to put the love we're never going to have, and where to put the pain, and how to justify what happened. And we have to make sense of things. That's who we are as human beings. Even the most nonsensical moments in our lives that will truly never make sense. I'm 40 some odd years past the loss of my best friend, and I still don't understand why a young, vibrant young girl at 13 years old didn't get a chance to live, and I do. So these will never make sense, but we do, to a certain extent, have to either make sense of it or exhaust the option. So you might be exhausting the option. And it's in this moment that we do start to learn about ourselves. We do start to understand who we are. And the more you go over it and the more you play, the more you understand exactly how much you loved that person, and how you do it and how much you play it. I mean, I drove myself crazy, but I learned that I am a hugely empathetic person, and that I had so much love for this person, and that if I could have changed it, I would have. So it is important to do all of these things. It's important to, Laura, it's so wonderful to see you. Welcome in. Hi, Irma. No, you're here. You're in. I saw your comment, and I'm gonna tie it in a little while. I know that you said that you were still a little bit upset a couple of years later. I have your comment, and I'm building up to it right now. But I do see you, so you're in the room. They are torturous. Okay. So, and how long? And this actually goes to Irma as well, because I know that she's a couple of years in and still feeling very sort of reeling from the moment. And how long is it normal? Okay. So that's a really great question. There are time frames. I'm going to give you very broad time frames, because I want to be very fair to every single person in this room. It varies. A lot of this, I'm going to be honest with you, has to be a conscious decision. Because I think if you're anything like me, and again, I don't want to compare people because it's unfair, but you, for your life, you will always wonder. I don't think the record that I'm talking about goes away, but what we do is we can pivot our mindset today. And this is what I'm going to help everybody do, because life in general is about mindset, and grief and loss is very much about mindset. So to answer your question, you will always do it. But here's a mindset that I'd like to offer to everyone, because basically what happens is, and we can get stuck in a moment. So when you think about your child, when our other guest in here thinks about their cousin who took their life, when we have Irma in here who's still thinking about the loss of her husband, right? We get stuck quite often in what happened. We get stuck in that moment that we can't change, because that's the thing that is driving us crazy. It's bothering us. It's also the moment that if we could be a superhero. And if we had superpowers, we could change and have that person back. And we could change the outcome so we get stuck there. So my best answer to everyone is to not forget the moment. Let's take the moment and put it aside. And think of all of the other amazing moments that you did have. Now, for someone who's lost a child, this is a little bit difficult because I'm going to take our guest who lost a cousin to suicide recently. I want you to think about this whole person's life. And I want you to think about all of the good moments that you had with this person so that you can start to change your mindset to not just that moment, but to everything wonderful about that person, to the things that made you laugh, to the reason that you loved this person so much. Now, for someone who's lost a child, unfortunately, it is just that happy time with which you were. So the difficulty in that is that there's not a long life there, but it doesn't mean that there's not a mindset change that can happen for you. Is that to understand that for you, it's just to understand that it's not what you eat. It's not that you did anything wrong. And I know that that's hard to think through now, but it is take the blame off of what you did because it's not anything that you did. And eventually with time, you are also very new to this. So I don't think that any advice I'm giving you personally today, as well as our guest who unfortunately has lost her cousin, I don't think that you're going to walk away from this today and go, I'm ready to do this. I think what I'm offering you today is hope. That eventually you will drown out that conversation in your head that you're having all the time about what happened and what went wrong and that idea that you just wish you could change it, right? So I'm going to back up here just a little bit, make sure that I haven't missed any comments as I move on here. Hi, Jamie. Okay, good. We caught up. I want to get to Belle Pottery, New Jersey. I felt huge amounts of shame because I didn't know my friend was dead and not ignoring me for a year. I'm so sorry about that. So I see what you're saying, right? So you didn't know what happened to this person, right? And so the moment that you're stuck in is you're like, what? Why didn't I do more? Why wasn't I there? Right? So I completely understand the moment that you're stuck in and understand something that no matter what happened over that year, even if there was something that brought you apart for a little while, the record in your head of how could I do this and how could I not be in touch and how did I not find out and what do people think of me? What do I think of me? Understand that in a whole life, that happens to people. People lose touch, right? There was never a time in your life that you possibly thought that could be the outcome, right? So we have to have a really genuine, because I know we hear this a lot in life and in a lot of memes and a lot of inspirational books, and it's real. But we have to have a genuine, deep, honest forgiveness of ourselves for whatever we think our shortcomings were or however we think we could have changed it. It's not an overnight thing, but it really, when I started to celebrate my lost ones' lives and think about all the times I was in their lives and to think about all the moments that were amazing, it was in those moments that I could start to forgive myself for all the things that, whether it be real or perceived, that somehow I thought I could change. So yes, yes, I'm so sorry. And I can relate to that shame and guilt. I just lost my dad October of 2025. I'm very sorry. You're in the year of firsts. So you're in a great room today because I'm not assuming that you're having this record in your head that we keep talking about, but we tend to, It's part of the newness of loss as well as being stuck in that moment. And this also, I know, sounds very general, but I will tell you that it is very true, is that in these circumstances, time is a wonderful thing. And it does allow us to the distance from it, not that we want to forget the people or what we've lost, but that distance does also create room for us to have a little bit wider of a perspective. Because when you first lose, your perspective is right here, right? You can't see anything else, right? And you really that's just what you can see. And time allows us to go like this and be able to look around a little bit and understand, start to work on that relationship with ourselves and start to begin that forgiveness of understanding that we have moments with people, right? And things happen or things change. We had arguments or we did things that maybe we shouldn't have done. Those moments, yes, relive those and know that they're part of it, but also relive the parts that were amazing. Because before we go any further, I just want everyone to understand another part of the journey that you're on. I want you to imagine the children that were born sleeping in this room today, the fathers that are gone, the cousins that are gone, everyone that's come forward with a lost story. Remember one thing about these people, from infant all the way through, none of them would want you to spend your life feeling guilty. Not the rest of your life. No one would. No one would. If it were an argument or it was a misunderstanding or it was something that happened, there would be a chance for them to look at us and go, it's over. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. You know what I mean? Let's keep living. I don't think, and I'm not hearing from anyone, that they had the kind of relationship where the person would want you to feel that way for your whole life. So if they could forgive you, you can forgive you. So keep that in mind as well. What would they want you to do? And just really quickly, for the person who also was talking about a suicide and how the family doesn't know how to handle it, there's one other thing that I want everybody to give grace to. Every person in your family, Tawanda, is going to deal with it differently, or there's the possibility of it. There are some similarities, but people tend to grieve differently. So be prepared for the fact that part of what blows people apart, not forever, but at least for a little bit of time, is that they handle the situation differently. So you are going to have a very difficult time with everyone because they are going to have a different kind of guilt. They're going to feel differently about the event. So that's something else that I just want to be honest about. Oh, there you are. There's another comment from you. Speaking of, I keep repeating in my head, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Absolutely. There is nothing more important than your faith right now. And for people, and understand what I mean for everybody in this room with faith, spiritual faith, faith in something bigger than you, faith in the person, faith, whatever that is for you, to be able to have hope in something or to put faith into something outside of you, I think is a wonderful thing to do. It will bring you peace. And most importantly, if it does, and whatever brings people peace, jump on the train, because it is very hard. And I know that I want to go back to when someone was asking how long is this normal? I do think that you want to be 4 and 5 years down the road and having a healthier balance, right? And I'm going to give that on the outside. Again, I really don't like to give too many years. I don't like to confine people because I don't know what everyone's coping skills are and just the difference that we are in people. But I will say that being able to find peace with it and being able to think about it in a better way and not carry that guilt for the rest of your life does have to move forward. And you'll know when you are starting to get out of that guilt phase of why didn't I do better, when you spend a day or two and suddenly a day or two passes and you haven't thought about it. Or you actually find joy in something. You find yourself laughing again. It's not a switch, but you'll find little moments in your life where I remember laughing. It was after my friend was killed, and I just remember laughing one day. I don't even know what I was laughing at. But I said in my head, whatever, it wasn't really that important that I was laughing. I just thought, I think this is what healing feels like. And I just said it in my head, like, I think I might be healing. I think I might be better. And if it's just this much, if you see a sunset and you find it to be beautiful, if you smile at something, if something feels good inside of you, if you're around people and suddenly you feel a little bit better, that's all we're talking about. It's not going to be one day where you wake up and it's just gone. But I don't want people to, it shouldn't be years, it shouldn't be decades of your life. Let's put it that way. Because you'll always have the talk track. You're always going to think about it every once in a while, but you want it to turn into once in a while. But that constant, everybody here seems to be in a very new phase. They're just starting this grief journey. The fact that it's playing over and over and over again and you can't turn it off, I'm sorry, but it's where you are. I'm going to be brutally honest. I bet you still miss him very much. And that's something else to understand, is that, I'm 32 years past my mother, and I miss her very much. And do I think about it every day like I used to? No. And it's different. And she is different. My relationship with her and how I see her is different. But you always will. But I will tell you that life started to take over. And grief started to take more of a back seat. It doesn't go away, but it takes more of a back seat. And suddenly you can start to, it sounds crazy, but it's just like you just start to walk and to talk and to exist a little bit easier. And that's when you start to know that you're going through it, that you're getting a little bit better, I think is what I mean to say. Lucas, welcome in. I've been grieving since 2015 and I can't shake it. Okay, so let's talk about that. It's okay that you haven't. Let's do a little mindset check-in. You're never going to, and I don't mean to sound doomsday to you. You don't shake it, you live with it. So that whatever happened to you in your life, I talk to about this all the time, is the day you went like this and you joined forces with grief. You guys grabbed hands. You may not have wanted to, but you did. And now this is your story. And I always say this, and I want people to start to compartmentalize. You've got happy stories, you've got some exciting stories, you've got some terrifying stories, and now you have a lost story. Now you have that as part of your life. You should still be grieving. Not that I'm happy for you that you're doing it. You will always grieve. I grieve the people that I've lost. And here's what changed. Rather than grieving just them and the people, I started grieving the life I didn't get. I for sure know that I would be a more interesting person if I still had my childhood best friend and my mother. I know that my life would have been happier. I know that it would have been fuller. I've had a good life. I'm not complaining about my life, but I know that it would have been better with them in it. And most recently, I've lost my sister. All three amazing women in my life. I still haven't wrapped my head around. I can't even get to knowing that my life would be better with her in it, because I'm still reeling that my life that she's not in it. It was only in 2022. And I'm very much in the new. I'm still grieving her. I can't even get to the life that I would have had with her. So the fact that you can't shake it is normal. I just hope that you feel like you're getting a little bit better, and that you feel like you're starting to live and understand life a little bit more, and that you're not stuck anywhere. Because I'll tell you that, I would tell people if I feel like they need to see someone or get some help or do something like that, but you sound very normal to me. You sound like someone who would like to shake it, to be like, I'd like for this to go away. And I'm with you. I would love for it sometimes to go away. Not the person, but the process, the grief process, but it's never going to. But I'm glad that you said it. And I'm glad that you are understanding that you just said it out loud. Understand that it's not about shaking it. It's just about understanding how to live with it. That's exactly what I was about to say. So, Green Beauty, I'm very glad that you said that. The grief of what you are doing of losing a baby is your future. When I lost my best friend at 13 and my mother at 22, it was the future I grieved. It was never being able to have her as a friend and going through life with her. It was my mother never seeing me get married, and she didn't. She was not there on that day. And my accomplishments in life, that is exactly the grief that you have, for sure. And there will always be a darkness. You will have better in your life. You will start to feel joy again. But again, as I mention all the time, we also have lost stories now. That's what we have. And let me back up here really quick. Everyone's such great comments today. I'm so glad to see everybody in here. Let me back up and catch up. Sorry, guys. Laura. Okay. I just jump in. Thank you, Lucas. I'm so sorry to hear that. Keep your head up. Thank you guys for supporting each other. Okay, there we go. So I lost my daughter, Michelle, to cancer. She was 34. So you have both. So I'm sorry to say but having just a completely honest conversation, you have the life with her that you had with her that you're going to grieve, and you still have a future because of where she was in her life. So you have both of those to grapple with. And that's why it is very, it can be so confusing. And I'm still very confused about my sister because I know that we still had all these plans to do with each other when we were supposed to grow old. And, here's how the brain works, right? Here's how the brain works in sort of the bargaining part and the negotiation part. I thought because my sister and I lost my mom so young, I was like, well, we're never going to lose each other. That's it. We're done. We paid the price. Now we get to be old together. And I was like, how is this happening to us? I never had any guarantee. Like I made all of that up in my head, but it's how we justify things at times, right? And thank you for sharing your story about your daughter because, as I said, there's somebody else in here who has lost a child. And so it helps people understand that there are other people in the world, right? And that we have other people that are going through it. And your guilt also, Fonda, and I don't have this as my own personal experience, but I certainly understand it as a coach. And I coach a lot of people in this situation. There is a very unique guilt that goes along with being a parent that loses a child because somehow you think, why did I get to live? The survivor guilt can be very deep. So I want you to start to understand that guilt is normal, but that you have every right to live a life. And your daughter would want you to. And she would want you to still have a life to live. But it's got to be very difficult. And again, I don't know from experience, but I do. Again, I can understand from my clients that talk about it. Am I allowed to be mad that my dad is no longer here? I think you should. 100%. I think you should be angry. I'm a personal fan of anger. I know that sounds weird. No, it's not fun. And I always tell people, we're not going to punch anybody. We're not going to take anybody out. We're going to keep it real. Okay. Because even though you want to scream into the wind, here's why I like anger. I like anger because you're starting to feel something specific. So I know that it was last October. you're kind of on track for some anger. You're on track to look around and go, even if you're angry with him, or you're angry at the world, or you're angry at the person. I used to get so mad at people that still had their moms. What a weird thing to do. And like I saw sisters the other day and it made me really mad because why do they get to have it and I don't? Right? So whatever form the anger is coming with you, absolutely. And again, what's great about it is its specificity. That is your journey, your healing journey going, buckle up. Because now we're starting to get somewhere because there's a numbness in the beginning and we don't know what to feel. And I kind of felt like I was floating. And there were times I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. Nothing really affected me. A terrible thing could happen in the world. And I was like, beautiful things could happen. I was like I just felt, which is also was a pretty terrible feeling for me because you want to feel again. Now it's good in the beginning because it's also shock, right? We have to be in shock a little bit to understand just what's happening, right? And just to sort of float so that we don't feel too much too soon. Anger is a beautiful thing because people were in here today saying, I want to learn about myself. Start writing down some things because it was in anger that I started to understand who I was. I think we all in here want to get a better relationship with ourselves and start to understand our grief and who we are as people. Make note of what you're angry at, who you're angry with, and how it happens. For me, it was very situational. I didn't stay angry for a long period of time, but situationally, I got very angry and it caught me off guard. So what I learned about myself was that I wasn't just overall angry. I was in certain situations, and one's not better than the other. They just describe who we are as people. We can start to learn about how we cope, and more. We get a deeper relationship with ourselves if we notice what we're going through. You're absolutely allowed. Again, just don't end up in jail. That's all I ask of people, right? Just be careful. Careful with the road rage and the things that can trigger us. But it's very natural, and yes, you should. Green Beauty said, I'm thinking of everyone in this room and praying for peace on their grief journey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Laura. It's nice to see you. I'm so glad you're back in. And I hope one day to forgive myself and not blame myself for my loss. I agree with you. And one of the ways, and the fact that you're hoping for it means that it is something that's important to you, right? There are, and again, I blame no one, but I'm just talking about situationally how people handle things. There are some people that will just live in the guilt and think that they don't deserve better. But the fact that you hope that you do means that you have the energy inside of you to do that and to start to forgive yourself and understand that though this is not at all the way that you planned your life, that you deserve all the joy that life has to offer and to find ways to have that again. And all of this, again, in comparison to what we've lost, I will tell you, on my sunniest days, there is a little bit of darkness for those that I have lost along the way. I still enjoy my successes, and I still definitely I grab joy when it comes along. But there is always going to be a little bit of a darkness that's part of the lost story. It's not something that you get to just drop off one day, right? But for you, the fact that there is hope there tells me that it's not a place that you want to live forever. And again, people that do stay there, I'm not judging, right? I'm just saying that people handle things very different. That's absolutely, so your coping skills, because it's new, cleaning, keeping busy, it's one of the number one things I hear is doing things you enjoy, baking, cooking, finding the things that you like to do, and honestly, stay busy. I stayed very busy and it helped me. Now, what I suggest not doing, I also ran a lot. I'm a runner and I ran myself into a knee surgery. So just be a little careful. I just kept running and running and running. And it was just this feeling I felt very light, and I felt I could tune it out for a minute. I would put this was a Walkman back in the day. I'm dating myself. That I would put it in my ears and listen to music, and I could run, and I wasn't the girl that all those things happened to, right? I wasn't that person. I could be light for a little while until I was, getting arthroscopic surgery on my knee. But do things that you enjoy. There is a certain period of time where staying busy really does keep you sane. Just don't try to outrun it. Don't stay in busy too long. And here's the thing that I always say to people, that when you start to question what you're doing, like, is this what I need to still be doing? Like, maybe what's happening? It's sort of us having a conversation with ourselves that maybe we're ready to move out of this comfort zone and into another one. Like, I remember trying to outrun my mom, right? And I was just going to be busy and run and do all these things. And it helped me in the beginning. But I did start to wonder, I'm like, Jamie, are you still doing this? Like, is everything okay with you? Like, I don't know how long can you try to outrun it? And it was kind of then that I did start bottoming out, and I needed some help. I needed someone to help me slow down and feel it, right? So we do give ourselves some indications, right? Another way for us to start to learn about ourselves. And if anyone's been in a habit for a while and lost, and they keep doing it, and they're like, I don't know if should I still be doing this? Then stop and think about it. Stop and take the time to go, am I ready to move into the next phase of whatever this journey is? Am I ready to try something else on? And that can be very scary. But we do have to move. But I am a big fan of staying busy in the beginning. I think it's very important. The irony in this is, the moment you acknowledge the grief and speak out and speak about your regret, it starts to dissipate. Okay, so that's interesting that you talk about how. So for you, speaking out about it or talking about it, or you're saying at this point is that it starts to dissipate. I think that's very true. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I think that, and I tell people this all the time and people love it, a lot of people have been using it, is that if you are feeling overwhelmed and you really do want to start to talk about it and you feel like you have no one to talk to, say it in the bathroom mirror. I've literally talked to myself in a bathroom mirror and been like, okay, here's the thing. I feel like I'm losing my mind, but I feel a little better in this area, and I'm definitely not doing well in this area, and I'm super angry about this. And I literally would talk to myself if I felt like, because there was a time that I didn't trust my grief with anyone else. That's a big part of it. A big part of, this is your story. These are your loved ones. This is like the new you. You're completely different to yourself. So a lot of this is very difficult to say to other people or to say out loud, which is sort of why I titled this today, is that there's such a quiet part of what we go through, right? And we have to acknowledge our wins, like the wins that no one sees. And there is an irony to that. But I want to say, is it Lisi? I'm going to say Lisi, or maybe Lizzie, that it's very healthy. And I'm glad that you do. And I'm glad that you are talking about acknowledging it and speaking out about it, even if what you're saying makes no sense. I think that a lot of people feel like they have to start to talk about grief when they're like ready and like, I know what I'm going to say and I know how to communicate that. That could take forever. So just getting it out of you, even if it sounds not at all disjointed or crazy, it doesn't matter. Getting it out, if she's right, it will dissipate it and it will help you. Or if there is a hobby that you do, like don't run yourself into a surgery, but exercising, hiking, we have cooking, we have things that keep your sanity for a little while. And it also, talking about speaking it out loud or the hobbies that we talk about, doing things that we like or doing the things that we've always done and keeping a routine is where you kind of keep your hands on reality a little bit. It can help you feel as normal as possible when everything else has changed. So it can running, I think that was also it's something that I've done my whole life. And I did when my mother was alive, and I used to run track with my friend in school before sadly she was killed. And so when I did that, it felt like something that was familiar that I'd always done, and I found a grounding in that. So thank you for that, because it's very true. Say it out loud. You get mad because your dad's gone. Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. And you should be. I'm really mad that my sister's gone. I'm still in that like anger phase that my sister's gone. It's not the way it was supposed to happen. Perfectly normal. And I mean it. And I know it sounds crazy. It is a good thing. You're starting to get specific in your healing. You're starting to feel something very specific. And it's not a fun feeling, but it's a specific feeling. And it's very good. It's very good in moving forward. She agrees. Good. I'm glad. And I'm glad I see a yes here. Fantastic. I want you guys talking about it. Find your person, find your bathroom mirror, find a journal, whatever it is. This is healing, okay? Because it can't stay in here. We can't hold it in here. So it has to be a place that it comes out however you want to do it. Some people sing. Some people, whatever it is, make sure that you're doing that. Action and grief is so helpful. Yes, completely agree. Good job. I love that. I love that. Everything in your life is changing. So that's another thing for us to really talk about. And I think that there was a comment right in the beginning that someone said that they want to start to learn more about themselves in their grief so that they can start to heal a little bit and start to figure out who they are. This is what else makes it really difficult. And it feels like a switch. Like I changed so much so fast, and your life changes so much so fast. And it really, truthfully, whether the loss of someone that you had was sudden, because I've had sudden loss in my life, and then unfortunately my sister was terminally ill, so it was that longer process. So it is still shocking. There is still that moment where everything blows apart. And for my sister, it was when she told me the news that she was diagnosed with cancer. It's just like everything breaks. It's like you just feel like everything around you is shattering, and everything changes. And it really does. Like my life completely changed in that one phone call. The way I went about my life, the plans that we made, what was going on. I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast for months. Like my whole life changed. And it's like a switch. And that's what else can make it so difficult, because not only has everything around you changed, but we have changed in it. And that's why it's super important to understand that all of this has to be in baby steps. So when I said earlier, if you have one moment of joy, or you feel one little bit of laughter, or one thing starts to make sense in your life, that's progress. This is not going to be leaps and bounds. This is going to be little things that we have to make sure we understand and we start to bring in, because everything is different. And that's very, very difficult for all of us. Even small change is hard, much less. Hello, Paul. I want to make sure that I saw something from Brandy that I will get back to. I just want to make sure. Thank you so much for all of the sharing today. It's incredible. And I think this is how we, so thank you. You're very welcome. I learned that I was angry with death and not my person or my guilt. Yes. It's what happened. It's the moment. Exactly. And it's how is this possible? And separating those is great, because I think that, and it's funny that Irma, I did not forget about you. So Irma, this is for you. And it's what Fonda just said, is that she learned that for her, she was angry. And I know that you're still feeling very sorrowful. That was a hard word for me to say. But she's making a very good point right now. And something that I think is going to help you is that you are, I think, still feeling very bad about what happened and the death of it. And I want you to be able to separate your husband from it. I'd like for you to start to write down all of the good moments that you have had. I want you to write down 5 times or 3 to 5 times that your husband made you laugh and why you laughed and what was so funny about him or quirky things about him or the reasons that you loved him or the things about him that were so positive. Because it is going to be very healing for you to separate what happened and the person. Because you said it's been 4 or 5 years for you, Irma, but that's not long. I know it feels like it, right? And you're like, it's really long. And it is really long. But it's very normal for you to still be in, especially when we spend think about all the years you spent with him and this amount of time that you've been without him. It's still very saturating. But a mindset change for you is to be able to look for moments of joy in your life with him so that you can separate those two. I think that is a really good place to start. Charlie, especially when you have ongoing grief, like disability, it's especially hard. Yes. And the thing to understand is that your grief will always be ongoing. And I know nobody wants to hear it. They're like, Jamie, really? But it's true. It is ongoing and it gets lighter. I always imagine that what it was for me, and like my sister is still this huge. If you can imagine, my hands are really, really far out because you can't see them past my phone. But what I imagine when I think about Sarah, my best friend, and my mother, Susanna, is that if I feel like what's happened with the grief is that now it's about this big and I can fit it in my pocket. It doesn't overtake my life anymore, but it's in my pocket and it still goes with me. It's gotten more manageable and it's easier than it used to be, but it walks with me and it goes places with me and it lives with me. And so that's what is especially hard. And you're absolutely right that it's especially hard, which is why it's always been stunning to me that our society doesn't spend more time talking about it, because it happens to all of us and it lasts a whole lifetime. Now, there's some loss, again, that's for a season, right? We can grieve a job to be like, I can't believe I got fired or I got laid off or, they dissolved my position. And you can feel a loss for a little while and then hopefully you get another job and you start to move on with life, right? But I think the kind of grief that we're talking about in here today is the kind that we carry with us for a lifetime. And it's always with us. And it always will be. And so I know that I'm sounding very fatalistic, but what I'd like for people to walk away with is never the idea that this has a shelf life. I want you to walk away from here today and understand that it is the rest of your life, and that's okay. Because it will change and you will get stronger in it. But if it happened to you, it happened to me at 13, God willing, I live to be 80 years old in my life or 80 plus, I'm still going to be the woman that lost all those people. I'm still going to be that person. I'm still going to be the person that had the first experience with loss at 13. I never get to change that. So it is ongoing and it is part of your story. So I think just to, not to make it sound like it's so long, but I want people to quash the idea that there's going to be a day that you're going to wake up and it's not going to be ongoing, because letting that go, believe it or not, is going to be very freeing for a lot of people. Just to let it go and say, okay, this is my story. My lost story is part of my story forever. And then it's not this idea of when it's going to be over. Or everybody can just leave the room and be like, I don't like what she just said. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah, Brandy says, well, I've cried for days because I'm so frustrated and angry. First of all, you have had so much at once. Okay, it's like so much, so much. And I see you, and I know that there's just been a pile on for you of loss. So I completely understand it because I know your story. And I think you need to. I have always been, I don't think anybody likes to cry, but it's always been very difficult for me. And I have to say, I have a little bit of an envy for those who can. And I think that just getting that out and that expression out of you is for everyone, and including men in this room. Take the time to just cleanse it out and cry it out, and just, I have my moments for sure, but I have to say I'm glad that you're sharing that, because I really want people to know that it is a huge part of healing. Because we cry a lot in the beginning, like I found myself doing, because it's happening and it's overwhelming and you cry. And then for some reason, for me personally, who I am, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I go into this strange survival mode where I can't cry and I've got to go and I got to get things done. And it has not been the healthiest for me. So, but I know how much you've been through. So thank you for sharing that. Hello, Paul. You're welcome, Irma, of course. And so here we go. Okay. So believe it or not, we've already come up on our hour here. So we talked a little bit about it. And I can certainly keep this subject. First of all, thank you to everyone who came into the room and shared today, because not only for yourselves, for the courage that you had to come in here and do it. And I hope that by typing it and me saying it, that it lightens your load a little bit to get it out and to talk about it and to let someone in the world know that this is your story and that this is what you're going through, which is why this room is here. Also, your sharing really helps other people in this room, because a lot of people come and maybe they're not ready to share, or they just want to listen, or that's how they get their help. And I think it's really wonderful that you do, because everybody learns from everybody else, and you give such great suggestions about how we survive this. So I want to address the biggest thing that we talked about today: guilt, wishing it was different, blaming ourselves, feeling like we should have done something different. All of that is the love that lives inside of grief. What happens is grief eats it. Something happens and changes our life, and we lose someone. And grief just comes in and swallows all of that love and that hope that we had for a little while. We get it back in a different form and in a different way, but we can get it back. But that's where that anxiety comes from. It's the love that we don't have anymore. It's the hope that we've lost. It's the anxiety that we feel about how much has changed. It's the fear of how are we going to move forward? What is life going to be like? All of those is what makes us want to change that moment and go, if I had just done this, if maybe this I would have done, it would be different. And the truth of the matter is that that's not how it would have been. And, I don't know. I remember writing this, and I have just wrote this in my book, is that I don't know if my mother's life or my best friend's life or my sister's life, I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion. I don't know if that was always the plan or if it's a freak. I guess I'll never know until I get to the other side. But I do know one thing. There's really nothing that I could have done to change any of these moments. There's really nothing that I as a human being could have done. But I've spent a lot of hours thinking about how I could have and why did it happen to my sister and not to me, right? I've had all of those. And the best way of forgiving myself and being able to move into a healthier place was to start to think about how incredible the relationship was and how much love we had for one another. And that not one of those people would want me to live every day feeling like somehow it was my fault. So start there. This is a very long process. Just because I tell you don't feel guilty doesn't mean you're going to leave this conversation and go, great, now I don't feel guilty, right? Because you will. Or you'll have a moment of weakness. But think about the amazing life that you had with those people. Think about the moments that made you want to stay in this person's life. Mimi, yes. your son took his life. And the guilt, and yes, the guilt is overwhelming. And especially in that kind of a situation, and I'll talk about it briefly before we go, is that I mentioned this earlier. Everybody's story is a little bit different. And you have a twofold situation where your guilt is concerned. One of how your son passed, and I blame no one for how they lead this life. There is no judgment or blame in this room. And that you were his mother. And you have this, why did it go that way? And why am I still here? And I would trade my life for his in a moment. You are going to play that for a very long time. But your hope and your job, your mission is to remember the life that you did have with him. You are going to be stuck in a moment for a while. You're going to be stuck in that moment. I can tell you that when it's going to take time to not have that be the forefront conversation that you have in your mind. But you will, as you have more distance from it, will be able to think that of the life that you did have with him as opposed to the one that you don't with him. Yes, you feel guilty for living through it. You feel guilty for just being here every single day of your life and him not being here. And I wish I had this wise, educated answer for you. But the truth is I don't. That I can tell you that I've been there in a different circumstance and that I have played over and over and over again different scenarios that give me an outcome that I want instead of the one that I got. And I started forgiving myself. And I started understanding that I have a life to live. And every person that went before me would want me to live that life. And if I'm here, and if I am given this gift of life, that I'm going to find some joy in it. And it took me years to be able to give myself that, right? So I understand, not from experience. I had a very different experience, but I understand where you are. I'm glad that everybody in this room today talked about their guilt. Talk about it. Get it out. Say that you feel guilty. Talk the track. Have the talk track out. Create the scenario where it turns out better and keep creating that scenario until you exhaust it. It's probably one of the only ways it's the only way I got through it. There's no quick remedy for it. And Mimi, I do love what you're saying now is you want to honor him and make him proud. And I say this all the time in a lot of my speeches and in when I talk to my clients. If the best thing that we can do, I've always wanted to make the people that I lost, I wanted to make their life worth it. I talk about them and I make them part of my life. And I make sure that people know that I had an amazing best friend and an amazing mother and an amazing sister. But if I want to make their life worth it, I'm going to make my life worth it. If I want to make them proud, I'm going to be someone to be proud of. If I want their life to have honor, then my life needs to have honor. I will represent what they would want, the honor and the love that they deserve as well, right? Yeah, that's why we talk about them for sure. Absolutely. And Angelica is another one who does it. And she talks about her brother. And, we have running jokes in my family about people that have passed. There's nothing I love more than picking on what a terrible cook my mother was. She was a terrible cook. I'm surprised I'm alive. If it was not for peanut butter and jelly, I would have been gone years ago, right? And we laugh about these people and we make them part of our lives. And Mimi, I'm not sure that, you will find that again. I think that humor is hard to find for you right now, but you will be able to. But right now you're going to live that talk track. Say it out loud, talk to people about it, talk it out. Make sure that it's not just going on in here and in here with no outlet. We need an outlet, right? And to talk about it. And most importantly, which I have not said, is that I'm very sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry for everyone's in here. And I wish that it could be different for all of us. I really do. I wish that, my life had all of those people in it, but they don't. And learning about yourself, getting back to what we talked about in the beginning. I've said this many times and I'll keep saying it. One of the best things that has come out of my losses is my relationship that I have with myself. I am very aware of my shortcomings. I am very aware of what I'm good at. And I even know my demons. And honestly, I don't dislike all of them. I have a couple of demons I'm going to keep. I'm really, they're not bad. They're not going to break the law. But I've got just an ornery side of me that has a little bit of grit to it. And I got it from loss and I got it from surviving. And I don't apologize for it. So you will change in ways that are a little unrecognizable. Who cares? Change. Be different. Understand that you are. The world will get over it. Believe me, it has with me so far. So find out who you are and start to celebrate in some ways, if you can, except for my people that are soon, that are right in the early days of it. Your daughter has been your savior. Yes. Good. This is what makes me so happy. Laugh about the things that he did, and he was funny, and he would want you to. He would want you to tell his story and let him live beyond his years. And I will tell you, as hard as it is, laughter is an incredible medicine. Even when you're sad, it's like laughing is one of the best things you can possibly do. And when you feel like it and you find that joy, grab on. So a couple of quick things to talk about that are coming up in March. I am having another workshop. I do them on Zoom. And I'm going to talk about comfort zones, and I'm going to talk about comparison and how we can lose our power in our grief stories when we tend to compare and feel like we shouldn't be grieving because somebody else has it worse than us, right? We're in this workshop, we're going to talk about our loss stories and how important they are in our lives and how we should position them that way and how comfort zones can help us. And that's coming up. I want to tentatively say March 7th. I'm still waiting on one more person to get back to me for my schedule, but I will let everybody know when that's coming. And digital courses are on their way. I'm going to be offering my first digital course is about loss and leadership. So for all the professional people in the room, or really anybody, but I want to help people boost through their impactful leadership and become more impactful leaders by using the lessons from their losses. There's a lot of power in that story that a lot of people don't use. It's going to be coming in two versions. One is self-guided, if people just want to sort of do it on their own. And another one can be with me, depending on how people want to do it. But there's a lot of really exciting things coming up as far as our education and understanding how we survive loss. Amazing room, amazing group of people. I can't do it without you. So thank you so much for being in here and being so open about your life and your loss. You are all becoming more powerful people every day that you live in this. I know you don't feel powerful. Some people probably feel like throwing the covers over their head and never coming out, but you're very welcome. You are becoming more powerful. Enjoy it and bring it. You're very welcome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you all for here. I will let everybody know. I'll put in that little thought bubble above the head. I would like to be back tomorrow. I have a couple of meetings, so if I can't, I will for sure be back on Friday. But I may be able to do tomorrow, and if we can, you'll see me then, and if not, definitely on Friday. Until then, be well, everyone, and I will see you soon. Thank you for being here today, of course. Okay, so 25. Okay, so I'm back. Got it. So I guess they just needed a little time to get their shit together. That's fine. That's all. It's all good. So I'm up to over 2,000. Yeah, I'm just going to stay here. Like, they suck, but whatever. Because, yeah, nothing Okay, that's fine.